it was like a process. It was very interesting because I was helping in the church a lot after I received my confirmation, because before that I was not sure whether the Catholic Church was the true church. I was in a Methodist school and I went to many Protestant churches thinking that there is only one Jesus, and so all the churches should be the same, you know? And the Catholics honor Mary, so maybe the Catholics are not true Christians. So, but anyway, it was a journey, and then I realized that the Catholic Church is the one true church that Jesus has established, and that Jesus is in the Catholic Church, and the Catholic Church possesses true faith. And then I started to be very active in catechism ministry, in choir and all. And I remember that I was praying one day, well, a few days, asking God to give me the grace to give Him more of myself. And then one day I realized that what I was asking God was that He make me a nun. And I was like extremely afraid, and I just like got up, made the sign of the cross and walk out of the room, because impossible, you know, and I didn't want to be a nun, no way. So I was not able to pray after that because I did not want to face this reality. So I said, okay, Jesus, maybe 2 years later we'll talk about it. And then I just continued praying, talking to God, and just telling Him my everyday life. Well, God remembered what I told Him, even though I did not want to remember, because a year later, some of the sisters came to my place. When I saw the sister, I remember I saw the joy that was in them, and I said, hey, I want to be like them. And I was really happy to be with the sisters. But still, the idea of becoming a nun, I didn't want to think about it. Well, then the following year, some of our youth, there were about 13 of us, decided to go to the Philippines for a youth day, and it was organized by these sisters and also the Brothers of the Incarnate Word. And I remember when I was at the field, and I saw the fathers playing soccer with the kids, and I saw the sisters playing basketball and volleyball with the children, and I thought how good God is and how beautiful it is to live a life like this, to be able to give your all to God and for His children. And then, without realizing, I wrote to the priest and I said, now that I look back, I saw what I wrote. I said, "Dear Father, I have decided to enter the religious life, but I have a few problems, like when and how." It was very interesting because when I told my parents that I want to leave, I told them I would like to take a sabbatical and then to try out this way of life for a year. And I said, maybe it's just a passion, and then in a year I will realize how hard the life is, and then I will come back. Also, the timing was very right because I just finished my bar exam and then I entered the convent. After living in the convent, I realized that this is the will of God for me, and I have never been sat one day in the convent. There are many difficulties because I didn't even know how to sweep the floor. And then I remember one of the first assignments they was assigned to me was to clean the place, and I asked the superior, "I'm sorry, Mother, but I don't know how to sweep the floor." And then she showed me how to sweep the floor, but thereafter I learned how to pray, and I learned that this is the will of God for me, and so now I'm here. I really wanted to be a lawyer and I really wanted to be a good one, and not just any mediocre one, but I really wanted to be a good lawyer. But we have like Christian fellowship. One of the boys asked me this. He says, "You know what you're doing is great, but you're going to give up a lot of things. Are you ready to give this up?" And without thinking, at that moment I answered him this. I said, "I'm willing to risk giving up all these things, wealth, career, a good life, but I cannot risk losing God. Because if you lose God, there is no way you can get back to God. It's like, what can I offer to be in contact with God, to be in a relationship with God? So these things were great, these things were attractive, these were my desires, but it is something that is nothing incomparable with God, and so it was not difficult for me to give up all these things. My family was very difficult. Like I told my mom that I wanted to be a nun. My mom told my dad, and they were in despair. For the first time in my life, I saw my parents being so lost. It was difficult, but I knew that this was something that I wanted to do, and that I have to give this a chance, because I realized that if I don't do this now, I will never do it again. And I realized that if I don't try it now, which is basically before I start my career, I would never have the strength when I am working already, no, to leave all this and to try religious life. So I knew it was now or never. And then with the grace of God, everything is possible. It was difficult, I remember, but there was always peace in my soul. I think that you should seek the will of God. And if it's the will of God for you, then you have to fight to follow it. Because it's only in doing so that you yourself will achieve happiness in your life, and that your family will be blessed. Because many times we may want to provide for our family, or we may have a dream life in our minds, of how life should be. But true happiness consists in doing the will of God. And if you do the will of God, God will never abandon you.